Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro called to consolidate the capacity of the government and prepare the population to defend the nation's sovereignty from potential U.S. aggressions. Argentine President Javier Milei has vetoed a law approved by Congress to distribute funding to the nation's provinces amid rising tensions with provincial leaders. Israeli forces have stepped up aggressions in the occupied West Bank city of Tulkarem, conducting arrests, house raids, and land demolitions. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro declared that defensive measures are being taken in case the country suffers a military attack by the United States empire in a session that was held in honor of former Chilean President Salvador Allende. During the plenary session of the Extraordinary Congress of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela and its youth, President Maduro assured that popular preparation is underway with activation of the 47,000 communities to move from unarmed struggle to armed struggle only in case the U.S. imperialist aggression makes it necessary to defend the Bolivarian Revolution. President Maduro also emphasized that this position is a response to the continuous threats, illegal sanctions, and aggressions promoted by Trump's government, which seek to undermine the political and economic stability of the country. During this extraordinary Congress of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro called for the activation of 260,000 territorial structures to defend the nation. In this regard, he proposed three central tasks: resolving the problems of the people without halting government administration; second, strengthening popular power and the communes, and preparing to move from non-armed forms of struggle to armed struggle if necessary, underscoring the historic responsibility of defending Venezuela's dignity.
So in the first place, the three central tasks of the moment. The first one, to consolidate the capacity of the government capacity to resolve, pay attention, and channel the problems of the people in a direct way with the national plan of the 70s, putting the third T at the front. We are going out to ask for the vote, and we told them we're people that solve. Well, people who solve is the first point. How to make our word count and go out and figure things out with the people.
And the third task is precisely that the Socialist Party of Venezuela, as a ruling party, as the one that unites the political forces and cultural forces of this historical bloc, that it prepare and adapt in an accelerated manner in order to move from the non-armed struggle forms to the armed struggle forms if Venezuela continues to be threatened by U.S. imperialism without hesitation. To doubt is to commit treason without hesitation. As Bolivar put it.
Let's move on to other informations. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was sentenced yesterday to 27 years and 3 months for leading a failed military coup. However, he's not going to jail just yet. Our correspondent Brian Meir explains.
So everyone's wondering now, what happens next? Is Bolsonaro going to be arrested today? Where are they going to take him? Well, first of all, there's a period of 5 days that's just started in which the lawyers of the defense can submit motions for clarification and motions for review. Motions for clarification involve parts of the decision that they feel are murky. For example, if the numbers don't add up between the sentences for the different crimes and the final sentence for a defendant, they can ask for clarification. This can result in lowering some sentences, altering the fines, and things like that. And they have 5 days to submit those. The second kind of motion is called a motion for review. This would have more power in some cases, even allowing the ruling to be kicked up to the full plenary session of the Supreme Court, which has 11 members, but it doesn't look like they have the right to submit these motions because they have to be based on dissenting opinions. And for that to happen, they need to have more than one. There was only one justice who voted for acquittal, Minister Luis Fuchs. That doesn't provide enough basis for motions for review. So after the court receives the motions, they'll deliberate on them, they'll issue their final response, and then they have a period of 60 days to publish the terms and conditions of the arrests. Now, normally, this happens a lot faster than 60 days. The last time there was a big high-profile case, it took them about 15 days to issue the terms and conditions. So basically, this means it's going to be a few weeks and up to maybe 2 months before anyone goes behind bars. In the case of former President Jair Bolsonaro, they're talking about taking him to a room in the federal police headquarters, which is the same situation that former President Lula found himself in when he was arrested on false pretenses in 2018.
In this context, a group of students took to the streets of Brasilia to celebrate the conviction of former President Jair Bolsonaro.
So, today's conviction reflects what we're feeling, not only a sense of justice but also hope for a sovereign future for Brazil. Above all, it shows that by defending democracy, starting from the defense of democracy, we can achieve a truly beautiful national project for our country.
And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday, Argentine President Javier Milei vetoed a law approved by Congress to distribute funding to the nation's provinces amid tensions between the executive and provincial leaders. Milei excused the veto, arguing that the application of the law would compromise fiscal balance. The project would have distributed the national treasury contributions automatically, following the same proportions as the general federal tax sharing arrangements. The action, which comes at a time when the administration has been seeking negotiations with governors after Sunday's electoral loss in Buenos Aires province, has caused concern, especially among members of the United Provinces bloc. The law has been sent to the Senate, which may try to reverse the president's decision by means of a vote. Also in Argentina, after President Milei vetoed both the university funding and the pediatric emergency law, the educational community, together with health workers, have announced a national strike. In addition, striking workers warned that a third federal mobilization is being prepared in front of the National Congress, while the deputies are getting ready to debate and repeal the presidential vetoes. For their part, the authorities of the University of Buenos Aires and the National Inter-University Council rejected the measures of the Argentine president and warned about the seriousness of the budgetary situation. In other topics, in Ecuador, social movements took to the streets on Thursday to protest against the policies and bills promoted by President Daniel Noboa. Various social organizations organized the National March to show that they are against privatizing strategic state assets and undermining labor rights. The protesters demand the repeal of the public-private partnership law and the public expenditure rationalization law, as these initiatives are covered for privatizing vital sectors. Also, Ecuadorian security forces repressed and protest against the neoliberal policies and destabilization of Daniel Noboa's government. While demanding the president's resignation, protesters marched toward the center of Quito, where they were attacked by police, leading to violent clashes. According to witnesses, the police used sound bombs and tear gas to disperse the protest while using their shields against the citizens. The protesters continued their demonstrations and blamed the president for the growing insecurity plaguing the country, in addition to the electricity crisis and economic recession. And we go to Panama, where citizens reject mining reopening while denouncing conflicts of interest between the current government and the company First Quantum. Panamanians gathered to denounce the attempts by José Raúl Molina's government to violate the two rulings of unconstitutionality against the mining company First Quantum following attempts to reopen the mega copper mine. Citizens denounced that the most serious damage from the activity would be to water resources, since it rains a lot in Panama and soil erosion is high, making aquifers highly vulnerable to contamination. They also point out conflicts of interest between officials from the current and previous administrations and the company, which compromised Molina's decision to reopen the mine. Meanwhile, in Barcelona, Spain, thousands of protesters took to the streets to demand independence from Catalonia on the autonomous community's National Day. The demonstration was attended by more than 20,000 people who waved banners and chanted independence slogans calling for secession from Spain. Said despite a large number of participants, the separatist movement faces internal divisions due to the controversial proposal by the far-right party Catalan Alliance. This mobilization comes amidst a wide-ranging debate within Spain on the independence of Catalonia, divided between those who insist on self-determination and those who call for strengthening dialogue with the Spanish state. In the United Kingdom, a mural by the artist Banksy was removed from the facade of the Royal Courts of London, which depicted a judge striking an unarmed protester. The work, which symbolizes institutional violence and judicial repression, was quickly covered up and later removed, which led to accusations of censorship, especially in the context of the recent ban on the activist group Palestine Action. Banksy's intervention, renowned for its political and social criticism, became a catalyst for a debate on freedom of expression and the limits of protest in the United Kingdom. Despite its rapid removal, the mural left a significant message, questioning power structures and social injustice. Also on Friday in the Philippines, university students abandoned their classes to protest against recent measures taken by the government of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Precisely, hundreds demonstrated in the capital, Manila, against budget cuts and poorly executed infrastructure projects. A few days ago, 2 senators were implicated in a corruption case involving flood control projects, which is currently under investigation by the Philippine Congress. In this scenario, professors and activist groups supported the students and called for transparency and accountability from the government and other politicians. And the Nepalese army declared a nationwide curfew following anti-government protests that left dozens dead and forced the resignation of the prime minister and the government. Protests broke out at the beginning of the week after the government decided to block social media platforms for failing to comply with a recently passed law. This decision caused public outrage, resulting in 51 deaths, fires and the escape of more than 13,000 prisoners from prisons across the country. The situation in the country is critical as it finds itself at a crossroads while a traditional transitional government is being established to restore stability and calm things down. And now we have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday, medical sources in the Gaza Strip confirmed that Israeli attacks have killed at least 50 people so far during the day, 14 of which belonged to the same family. The figure includes at least 37 people killed in Gaza City and the north of the besieged territory. Also, 4 more civilians were murdered in a strike on the Sheikh Radwan district. Meanwhile, Palestinian deaths were also reported in the Al-Sudanija area, northwest of Gaza, after a house was hit in an Israeli airstrike. And also in Rafah, a Palestinian citizen was shot by Zionist forces while waiting for humanitarian aid. The Israeli regime has continued its brutal offensive in the enclave, bringing the death toll to more than 64,700 since October 2023.
There were 6 families, around 45 people, trapped under the rubble. Only 3 people were pulled out alive, and they are now in the ICU. Of the remaining 42, we managed to recover 14 bodies from under the rubble. The rest are still buried because neither we nor the civil defense were able to pull them out after artillery fire directed at us.
The Israeli forces have also stepped up aggressions in the Palestinian city of Tulkarem in the occupied West Bank, conducting several arrests, house raids and land demolitions. Israeli forces raided homes in the southern neighborhood located near the Al-Qassam Mosque and carried out search and vandalism operations, subjecting citizens to interrogation. Israeli troops also converted several buildings into military barracks, including a residential building, while carrying out extensive searches and arrest of dozens of Palestinians. Other Tel Aviv army forces deployed their vehicles and infantry units on Nablus Street, adjacent to the Tulkarem camp, while their excavators demolished several greenhouses in the suburb of Daraba. In Tunisia, also thousands of citizens gathered in Bizerte port to welcome the global summit flotilla in support of Palestinian liberation. The flotilla changed course on Thursday to the Tunisian port of Bizerte after adverse weather conditions delayed its departure towards Gaza. Around 30 vessels met in the Tunisian waters to continue a journey that aims to break the Israeli siege on Palestine. It should be noted that 2 vessels of the flotilla have been attacked by drones. However, the activists emphasized that their support for Palestine will not cease. These actions are being carried out by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, the Global Movement to Gaza, the Resilience Flotilla, and the Malaysian organization Sumut Nusantara, which includes also hundreds of activists from more than 40 countries. In other informations, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, humanitarian sources have recorded the murder of at least 140 people since mid-August amidst the armed conflict. Humanitarian coordinator Bruno Lemarquez expressed its concern in a statement about the escalation of violence as well as the massive displacements and abandonment of entire villages. Lemarquez said that consultations with the authorities of the provinces of Ituri and North Kivu were underway to strengthen the protection of civilians as well as to adapt the response to the most urgent needs. The official offered his condolences to the families, also the loved ones of the victims, and urged the country's armed forces to protect civilians and respect international humanitarian law. And we go to the United States, where on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the arrest of the suspected gunman responsible for the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk 2 days ago. The head of state unveiled that a family member had given its whereabouts to the police and that pending investigation, authorities believe with a high degree of certainty that the detained individual is Kirk's murderer. The suspect's identity was later revealed as a 22-year-old Utah resident, Tyler Robinson, by the state's governor, Spencer Cox, at a joint conference with the FBI. Conservative right-wing activist Charlie Kirk was shot to death during a speaking engagement at Utah Valley University on Wednesday, launching a manhunt for the killer and sparking divisive public reactions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th.
More than 300 workers arrested during an illegal operation by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency at the Hyundai plant arrived in South Korea on Friday after days of detention in the U.S. state of Georgia. The aircraft belonging to Korean Air landed on Friday afternoon at Incheon International Airport west of Seoul, and the 300 South Koreans were among the 475 people detained during the ICE raid on September 4th that took place at the automotive plant. The workers there were held at an immigration detention center in Folkestone, and after being released, they were transferred by bus to Atlanta, where the repatriation flight would take off. Now, also Russia and Belarus armed forces have begun the SADPAD 2025 strategic exercises with the aim of protecting the interest and security of both nations. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, the maneuvers will be held at the training camps in both countries and in the Baltic and Barents Seas, with the aim of improving the skills of soldiers at the interactive level and in regional and coalition troops in defense of peace. During the drill, Moscow and Minsk will work on issues of troop control in the event of aggression, implementing actions to neutralize threats and stabilize the situation at the borders. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.